Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of EverUpwardShow, the only, why do I keep wanting to say fantasy? The only fan show for the New York Excelsior. I am your host, Evans, and took last week off because I was at PAX, and because the team was off, so I took off as well. We've got a lot to talk about today, so I'm just going to jump right into it. We're going to talk about stuff that came from NYXL, and that is a long list of stuff. Then we're going to talk about, there's a couple of things that came from the community. There's some community events going on this week, and then we're going to talk about last week's matches. Thumbs up for those, and we're going to talk about this week's matches that are going to be happening. So without further ado, let me just jump right into it and start with the stuff that came from New York Excelsior and official Overwatch League stuff. We got some new gear in the store, so everyone say goodbye to your wallets and your checkbooks. We got some new gear in the stores for all the teams, but NYXL stuff, of course, is there as well. We've got a performance jacket, which looks a little bit like I don't know, like a jogger's jacket, probably like a mesh, maybe not a mesh, but like a, probably not cotton, but like a, I don't really know. I don't know what it's made of, but it seems like a breathable material for like a runner's jacket. That's at $120, so I hope it's really nice. Very expensive there. We've also got a shirt that looks kind of like the jerseys. It's got like the logo on the chest. I mean, you can look at all this stuff. The link is down below, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on it, but you got a shirt, you got a long sleeve shirt. There's socks, which I want so bad. Man, I'm really dating myself and showing how old I am that I'm getting excited about socks, but there's also sweatpants as well. I want all the stuff. It's too expensive. It's too rich for my blood, but I am definitely going to be asking for stuff for birthdays, Christmas, all that good stuff. If people are looking to get gifts for me, there's a good place to look, so anyone listening. But looks like some really awesome stuff. I'm really excited about that stuff coming through. In terms of videos, of course, we've been continuing the Origins series with NYXL, and this week, or rather last week, was the Origins video for NYXL Andrew. This is a good one. He's actually was, I believe, born in the U.S. and moved between the U.S. and Korea. It's a really interesting video here about the player manager for the team. So the person that's making sure everyone gets driven around and is, eating correctly, all that like non-game stuff for the players, he's doing. So that's really awesome, and it was nice to see him. We also had the NYXL Unleashed video for the end of Stage 2, of course. Spoiler alert, we won, so that was good. There wasn't the it didn't have the like following a single player aspect of it, which I kind of missed. I like that part of it, but it was a good video. Obviously nice to see some highlights essentially of them winning. Because there was no match this week or last week, we had a day off, NYXL day off video, which is a fun, neat little idea where it just followed SBB, Mecco, and Jodak. They went shopping. They literally went shopping on like a shopping district in LA. I don't know too much about it, but excuse me, they went in a couple of clothing stores and shoe stores, and it was kind of funny because they're like, it's funny because like they say some things that are like a little bit off for like American culture. So it's just kind of a funny, it's really, I really like those videos because it's like, it gets like, you get to feel like how SBB, Mecco, and Jodak actually react and like act in real life in the public, which was great. It's like very clearly not scripted, or at least parts of it are scripted where they like say like the outros and whatever, and they like go up and do certain things, but like it was a very like behind the scenes look, and I really like that. Speaking of behind the scenes look, we got a NYXL community spotlight for John Edwards, aka Met Lover. I'm sure anyone who's a NYXL part of the NYXL fan community is familiar with Met Lover. He's a mod on the Discord. He's a mod on the subreddit. All that good stuff. There's a little write-up on him and his story where he came from on the NYXL page on which is part of the OverwatchLeague.com page. So again, all the links and stuff are down below. Also, we had NYXL started a language school in their Discord server. So obviously one of the things with NYXL specifically is the language barrier between Korean fans, United States fans, etc. So they started up a language school to help bridge that gap between English-speaking and Korean-speaking fans. So that's really awesome. I haven't got a chance to check it out too much yet, but that's definitely something I'm going to want to be doing. If I can learn a little bit of Korean, I would love it. I think it's just something that's just extremely valuable to know. I'm very happy about that. Moving on, we've got the first official Overwatch League NYXL sanctioned viewing party. That's going to be April 14th at 6 p.m. in the Keg Room in New York City. There's prizes, there's giveaways. I believe the voice of Farah and the voice of Mercy are going to be there. So it's going to be a big event. I know Five Deadly Venoms, I believe, is running it, or at least is a part of it. It's going to be a really cool event. I really wish I could make it. Just not in the cards for me right now, though. I am going to be making it out there as soon as I possibly can. It's just not in the cards for me at the moment. But definitely, if you are going to be in the New York City area or are able to get out there on the 14th, the link down below has links to the registrations. You're going to want to register for that ASAP. Also on the 14th, Five Deadly Venoms and the Houston fan club, the Houston Outlaws fan club, are doing the first, what they're calling, Homefront series for charity. Both orgs have basically an amateur team set up. They're going to play against each other for charity. And it's going to be streamed, and all the details for that are below. This is one of those things that I've known has been going on for a while, but I had to kind of keep it hush-hush. So huge shout outs to Five Deadly Venoms, all the guys and gals that are there at Waypoint Cafe, etc. They're doing such a great thing, and this one, I've got the link down below, and this is the most important link here. It's a direct link to the University Settlement Charity. That's the charity that NYXL, or that Five Deadly Venoms, is going to be representing. They work with adults in the greater New York City area for adult literacy programs for either refugees or homeless people who are not up to snuff in terms of literacy, and helping them get jobs and stuff. So I mean, an amazing local charity to New York City that they're working for. Please, if you have any additional means to help support that, the link is down below. It's just such a great cause, and nice to see that the NYXL community, which is a global community, is contributing back to the local New York community, which is awesome. So that was a nice little mouthful, wasn't it? Moving on, we've got really only one kind of meme here from the community. Again, I apologize. There's hundreds and hundreds of, if not thousands, of pieces of community content that got put out, and I kind of put a lot of it on the back burner this week because I missed a week of stuff and announcements. So we got the Pine Sol meme. As we know, Pine is back in the lineup and ready to play. We've got a use Pine Sol. It sweeps even the toughest teams. We've got London, Philly, Fusion, Shanghai, all in that. Let's just sweep them right there. Although I don't think that we've actually swept Philly. Although maybe we did in the regular season. I don't remember. But regardless, funny meme. Definitely an interesting one there. I got the link down to the Reddit comment that happened there. There was some XL2 there were some XL2 matches that happened. I don't have the results for those, mostly because I forgot to do them before I started here, and we're just going to catch up. I'm like a couple weeks behind on XL2 anyway, so I apologize for that, but we'll catch up next week on all of the XL2 stuff. You can head over to overwatchcontenders.com if you do want to see the results and whatnot there. I know that we've seen Flower, but I don't know if he's really been living up to the hype that we once thought he was going to. But let's move on and talk about the results last week from NYXL. Started off, first match of the stage was against Florida Mayhem. pretty easy 4-0 there. I don't think nothing unexpected here. The only thing I'll say is that Florida Mayhem has been looking good. They started to look very good at the end of the stage. They've got new players coming in. It seems like the addition from the coaching staff, the addition of the players, some of the internal things happening there for Florida Mayhem really started to make them look like a good, maybe not a great team, but like a more cohesive team. So I wasn't worried that we were going to lose. I thought maybe we would drop a map, maybe even 2 to Florida here, but we did get the clean sweep, which is just showing that like Florida looked decent. NYXL is just at a whole other level. And speaking of which, we played the what I'll call the grudge match, and I don't think anyone would argue that this is not a grudge match. We had a match against the London Spitfire. In a lot of people's eyes, this is the rivalry of the league. We've taken bouts off of each other back and forth. Obviously, they not upset, but they beat us in the Stage 1 playoff finals. So that was a disappointment. And then they ended up beating us the very next match in Stage 2 regular season. So that one hurt as well. But we came here guns a-blazing and 4-0'd London. And what I'll say here is, who is going to beat NY now? Like, Philly had a really great, we had a really close match that went to 5 against Philadelphia, but like, I'm not picking Philadelphia to beat NYXL in the regular season. I mean, I think, and we talked about this on the High Noon Podcast flagship show, you can't pick anyone to win against NYXL. They are a completely dominant team. They're an arm and a leg above any other team in the league right now. And I thought, and many other people as well, thought that maybe like I've heard a lot of naysayers saying that London might still be better. A lot of people still had them above NYXL in their power rankings. I think this week kind of just solidified NYXL as a dominant force. Now, do not take this to mean that I think that the rest of the season is going to be a skate and that we should stop trying. The opposite, in fact. I think we need to double down and try even harder now, because when teams think that they're going to lose and that they don't have a chance, they play what I like to call, and a term I used when I played basketball is loosey-goosey. You got a team that doesn't think they're going to be able to win. They're playing, they've got nothing to lose. They're playing, they're trying some crazy stuff. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. Maybe it's unconventional. That's not good for the team that's on top, because they're going to be playing kind of crazy, and the other team's like, well, if we lose, we lose, but we got to try something, right? And that's not what we want. So I think I'm really liking that we're seeing the match against Florida be 4-0 instead of a 3-1 like we saw in Stage 2. They're really putting the pedal to the metal here and really trying to get every win that they can and putting themselves further and further ahead. They are, let me just double check here. I believe they're something like 4 games out of they are 5 games ahead of second place. So London Spitfire is 15-7, NYXL 20-2. So, I like having a buffer. I also would not mind ending the season with a huge buffer as well. We want to have that first round bye in the season playoffs. We want to just remain on top at all points, so definitely going to want to continue that. And I'm really glad to see that we beat London, and we beat London so convincingly. But I'm almost more happy that we beat Florida 4-0 instead of easing off a little bit or just having a little bit of a weakness here where we throw a map to Florida. That's just not where we want to be. But moving on here, last thing we're going to talk about is this week's matches. What do we have to expect here? And I'm going to be honest, I don't think there's going to be too much of a resistance here for us. So our first match is going to be against the Boston Uprising. Unless you've been living under a rock, the whole Dreamcasper situation. sexual misconduct allegations and investigations was actually cut from the Boston Uprising roster. So long story short is Boston, a team that has actually started to look a little bit better now without one of their star DPS players. They're now just completely without it. So really, who has any idea what the Boston Uprising are going to look like? We don't even know who they're necessarily going to field as their DPS player. We would think it would be Mistakes, but Mistakes has a similar hero pool to Striker. So really, anything could happen here. We don't know. I mean, we could see something like Kalios playing projectile DPS. We just don't know. So this match, I think, at the very least, is going to be a emotionally stunted Boston as well as a talent stunted Boston. And I think even a full strength Boston is really not going to be able to put up much of a match against NYXL. So I'm predicting this one to be a 4-0. Or if you listen to the flagship show, one of my patented 5-0s. I really don't think there's going to be much here, and I'm very happy to see that NY just doesn't take it easy on anyone, which is great to see. This might, now I don't think it would necessarily be considered taking it easy, but this might be a good week for Pine to get some real minutes here. It also, as far as I know, Animo, the support that we signed, is, I believe, able to play in the U.S. Don't quote me on that because I'm not sure. But if he is, this might be a good time to get him some minutes. This might be a good time to get Pine minutes, because it's not like Pine doesn't play and is not a good to your character, good to your player. He just kind of took a stage off to regroup himself, and now is back. And he did play against Florida and London, so it might be a good time to get him some minutes. Might be a good time to maybe give SBB a week off, or maybe only have him come in a couple of maps. I don't know. I'm just saying it's possible we might see a little bit more Pine Libero, maybe Pine SBB, and maybe we get to see a little bit of Animo as well. But I'm not seeing much here in terms of resistance from Boston. And moving on, we've got Houston, which of course is the High Noon Podcast rivalry week, or at least it was when the matchup was kind of close. Even Deathblow is not putting up much of a defense here. It's just no one is close to NYXL right now, and honestly, as an NYXL fan, that's great for me. I do love seeing close matches as an Overwatch fan, but as an NYXL fan, I want to see him win every match. We get close matches for other teams, and I think this one's going to be no different in terms of us winning here. Last time we played, we 4-0'd them. For what it's worth, I think Houston has started to put together more of a coherent plan. They are going to be bringing in Arhan eventually, or at least that's what we believe to be true. But when you're playing a player like Clockwork, or even or Jake or Linkser even on Tracer against SBB, it's just going to be a bad time for you, man. Like you need to have a top tier Tracer to even compete with SBB, and when you have a mediocre Tracer at best, it's just not good for you. It's not a good time for you. I don't think this one's going to be close either. I predicted my patented 5-0 in favor of NYXL this week. I'm just not seeing it in the cards for Houston or Boston. Anything can happen for sure, and even though I don't want it to see it happen, NYXL absolutely cannot underestimate either of these teams. They are both capable of beating the highest level. I mean, neither of them have beaten NYXL, but both of them have beaten London before. Sorry, I'm yawning, man. Ooh. Both of them have beaten London before. London is a capable team. Every team in the league, for the most part, RIP Shanghai Dragons, are a capable team, able to beat anyone. But, yeah, so that is going to bring us to the end of the show here. Sorry, guys, this one was late. I apologize for this one. I want to get a show out. I had a lot of stuff going on with PAX and getting back from that, so my schedule is like all jumbled up. But next week we are going to be back in the regular swing of things. Going to be recording probably on Sunday, if not Monday. So keep an eye out for that. Remember, guys, follow at EverUpwardShow on Twitter. Go to the High Noon Podcast Discord, which is discord.me/High Noon Podcast. Join that. There's an EverUpward text channel there. You can ask any questions, give any show suggestions, anything like that there. That is going to be great. And guys, we do have our own podcast feed on iTunes, which you must be listening to, or I guess you could be listening on YouTube. You can listen on the High Noon Podcast YouTube. But if you are listening in podcast land, please take that second to leave this podcast a review and a rating. And once I figure out how to actually access those reviews, I will be reading them right now on the show. That will be starting next week. So anything you put in there, I will be reading. Make sure you do that. But guys, that is going to be it. Remember, EverUpward Show is a High Noon production. You can find everything that High Noon Productions does at highnoonpodcast.com. All of our other shows there. Whether you're into Contenders, you're into Fantasy Overwatch, you like Around the Horn on ESPN. I've got a show like that. It's called Around the Payload. Or the flagship show, which is just about all of Overwatch League. Head over to highnoonpodcast.com. All the links and all that stuff is there. But that is going to bring us to the end of the show, guys. Thank you for listening, and remember to stay ever upward and go NYXL!